Have you ever wondered why we have different blood types and what causes these variations? Let's embark on a journey to unravel the mystery of blood groups, specifically the ABO system. This system is the most well-known blood grouping system, and it's been fascinating scientists and curious minds alike for over a century. The ABO blood group system consists of 4 main types. You've probably heard of them: A, B, AB, and O. But what makes each type unique isn't something you can see with the naked eye. It's all about the presence or absence of certain microscopic substances known as antigens, which are found on the surface of our red blood cells. Think of these antigens like tiny identification tags that our bodies use to recognize our own cells. Each blood group has its own specific antigen. Type A has A antigens, type B has B antigens, type AB has both, and type O has none. But here's where things get a little more complex. Our bodies also produce antibodies, which are proteins that recognize and fight off foreign substances. If you have type A blood, your body will produce anti-B antibodies to fight off any B antigens that might enter your bloodstream. Similarly, if you have type B blood, your body will produce anti-A antibodies. And if you're type O, your body will produce both anti-A and anti-B antibodies. But if you're lucky enough to be type AB, your body doesn't produce any of these antibodies, making you a universal recipient for blood transfusions. The interesting part is that these antigens and antibodies are inherited, which means your blood type is determined by the genes you receive from your parents. So what's the reason for this diversity in blood types? Well, scientists believe it's all about evolution and adaptation to different environments and diseases, but that's a topic for another time. Isn't it fascinating how something as small as an antigen can have such a significant impact on our blood type? Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the world of antigens and antibodies in our next scene. But what exactly are these antigens and antibodies that determine our blood type? Let's start with antigens. Picture antigens as unique identifiers, like a name tag that each cell in our body wears. These name tags are actually substances that can provoke an immune response. This immune response is what leads to the production of something we call antibodies. So, what are antibodies? Well, consider antibodies as the body's security guards. They are proteins that are always on the lookout for any intruders. When they spot an intruder, they recognize it by its name tag, the antigen, and bind to it. This binding is a way of marking the intruder for destruction by the immune system. Now let's bring this back to blood groups. The A and B antigens are the name tags on the surface of the red blood cells. If you have type A blood, your red blood cells have A antigens. If you have type B blood, your red blood cells have B antigens. And if you have AB blood, your red blood cells have both A and B antigens. But what about those with type O blood? Well, their red blood cells don't have any A or B antigens, hence the O, which stands for 0 or none. On the flip side, your plasma, the liquid part of your blood, contains antibodies against the antigens not present on your own red blood cells. For instance, if you have type A blood, your plasma contains anti-B antibodies. If you have type B blood, your plasma contains anti-A antibodies. And here's where it gets interesting. If you have type O blood, your plasma contains both anti-A and anti-B antibodies. But if you have type AB blood, your plasma doesn't have either of these antibodies. In essence, the blood type is determined by the presence or absence of these A and B antigens and their corresponding antibodies. So, it's all about the interaction between antigens and antibodies. Now that we understand antigens and antibodies, let's dive deeper into the science behind ABO blood groups. The ABO blood grouping system is one of the most crucial classifications in blood transfusion practices. It's based on the presence or absence of 2 types of antigens, A and B, found on the surface of red blood cells. Now let's imagine your blood cells as little floating islands, and these antigens as flags on those islands. In the case of type A blood, the cells wave the A flag. This means they carry A antigens, but they also have something else: anti-B antibodies in the plasma, the liquid part of the blood. These antibodies are ready to attack any foreign invaders waving a B flag. Conversely, people with type B blood have red blood cells that wave the B flag, meaning they carry B antigens. And like a mirror image of type A, the plasma of type B blood contains anti-A antibodies, lying in wait for any cells waving an A flag. But what about type AB and type O blood? Well, individuals with type AB blood are kind of like a diplomatic island. Their cells wave both A and B flags, indicating the presence of both A and B antigens. However, they don't carry any antibodies in their plasma. They accept everyone, and no war is waged against either A or B flags. On the other end of the spectrum, those with type O blood are like an island without any flag. Their cells carry no antigens, but their plasma is a different story. It's loaded with both anti-A and anti-B antibodies, ready to wage war against any cells waving either an A or a B flag. So, your blood type is a result of the unique combination of antigens and antibodies in your blood. Understanding this combination is fundamental to ensuring safe blood transfusions, and can even play a role in understanding your susceptibility to certain diseases. You might be asking, why is it important to know your blood type? Well, let's start with the most immediate reason: blood transfusions. Every year, millions of lives around the world are saved through blood transfusions. But for a transfusion to be successful, the donated blood must be compatible with the recipient's blood type. If you're given blood of an incompatible type, your immune system would perceive the foreign antigens as invaders and launch an attack. This can lead to serious, sometimes life-threatening complications. Now imagine you're in an emergency situation where you need a transfusion immediately. In such cases, knowing your blood type can literally be a lifesaver. While there is a universal donor type, O negative, that can be given to any blood type, it's not always readily available due to its scarcity. So knowing your specific blood type can expedite the process of finding a compatible donor. Beyond transfusions, knowing your blood type is also vital for organ transplants. Similar to blood transfusions, the body's immune system can reject an organ if it's not compatible. Therefore, organ donors and recipients are often matched based on their blood types to increase the likelihood of a successful transplant. Furthermore, your blood type can sometimes shed light on your vulnerability to certain medical conditions. For instance, research has found correlations between certain blood types and increased risk for conditions like heart disease and stomach ulcers. While this doesn't mean that your blood type determines your health destiny, it's a factor that can contribute to a more complete understanding of your health profile. So as you can see, knowing your blood type goes beyond being an interesting tidbit about yourself. It's a critical piece of information that can influence medical decisions and potentially save your life. Knowing your blood type is not just a fun fact about yourself, it's a crucial piece of medical information. Let's quickly review what we've learned about ABO blood groups. We started this journey by unraveling the mystery of blood groups. We discovered that blood types are not just random designations, but are actually determined by the presence or absence of specific molecules known as antigens on the surface of our red blood cells. These antigens are like the body's secret code, influencing how our immune system identifies friend from foe. And it's these same antigens that give rise to the ABO blood grouping system. If you have A antigens, you're type A. If you have B antigens, you're type B. If you have both, you're type AB. And if you have none, you're type O. But the story doesn't end there. We also learned about the role of antibodies, the body's security guards. These are proteins produced by the immune system that can recognize and neutralize foreign substances. If you're blood type A, you have anti-B antibodies. If you're type B, you have anti-A antibodies. And if you're type O, you have both anti-A and anti-B antibodies. But if you're type AB, you don't have any of these antibodies. This intricate dance between antigens and antibodies is the science behind the ABO blood groups. It's what makes blood transfusions possible, and what makes each of us unique in our own way. We also underscored the importance of knowing your blood type. It's not just for fun trivia. It can be a life-saving piece of information, especially in medical emergencies where blood transfusions are needed. It also has implications for pregnancy and even for some aspects of personal health and wellness. So there you have it. The fascinating world of ABO blood groups demystified. It's a testament to the amazing complexity and precision of the human body. And now you're not just another bystander, you're part of the conversation. The next time someone asks you about your blood type, you can impress them with your knowledge about the science behind it.